All right, welcome to the first episode of Cocktails and Criticism. I'm going to talk about Los Angeles. I'm wearing my summer drinking shirt. Aloha. I have a tequila sunrise here, and that means I'm going to talk about some Los Angeles music. I don't have many Los Angeles writers that I can think of off the top of my head, save for one of my professors from graduate school. And I don't actually own any of his writing, so I can't really talk about him very much. I kind of want to say that Bukowski kind of feels like Los Angeles, but I think Bukowski is better left for a more appropriate drink. A tequila sunrise, that's really not Bukowski, right? So I'm going to talk about a couple of albums that to me really encapsulates Los Angeles. Okay, I have 5 specific records that to me speak LA. When I'm drinking a tequila sunrise or any like tequila beverage that mirrors a tequila sunrise, I have my own concoction that's very similar to this. My friend Monty and I created it about 25, 30 years ago. It's called the 77 Sunset Strip. It's very close to this. It looks like a tequila sunrise, but we added vodka, and we added rum, and we added pineapple juice, and on the top, we added Sprite. I mean, this is just a straight up tequila sunrise. Although I did add some orange liqueur to this one, just to give it a little bit of a punch. But when I drink one of these, I feel like I'm drinking, out on the Sunset Strip. But I never really grew up in Los Angeles, and I don't live in Los Angeles. So if any of you are watching this who live in LA, maybe in the comments you can start talking about some LA bands that I missed out on, or even LA writers. But Los Angeles, like, music that I'm just like flaked out on. I will say, I mean, obviously there are some really great LA writers. The only one that really kind of comes to my mind is James Ellroy. I feel like in another life I should have probably tried my hand at living in Los Angeles. I've got a great friend who lives out there. But LA, the underside of it, just sort of seems really interesting. So in that vein, I'll start with one of and I don't have this on vinyl, but The Doors' LA Woman, to me, The Doors are a great LA band. I mean, you had others in the 60s that a lot of people talked about, like the Beach Boys. I love that the Beach Boys have that like little hint of Charles Manson, I think that's awesome. You had Arthur Lee's Love. Those are the 2 other bands going on in the 60s that I think are really like LA bands. But The Doors, I mean, it's an obvious choice, I know, but the album, I love the first album. I think the second album is really great. But for me, the album, like when I'm having one of these cocktails and I'm really thinking about Los Angeles, I'm thinking about LA Woman. And I think it's just quintessentially Los Angeles, quintessentially California, but it's a great rock and roll record. I mean, the list of songs on there are great. Cars Hiss By My Window is a great song. Crawling King Snake. But I mean, it's got to me some of the Doors' best stuff. The Changeling, one of my all-time favorite Doors songs. It's up there in the top 5. I mean, I think that it is just a groove that gets you going. It just rocks. And obviously, LA Woman and Riders on the Storm are probably their, like, 2 people's favorite songs of theirs. But two of my favorite songs ever that the Doors ever did are on this album. Been Down So Long. I love that song because it's just a down, dirty blues song. It sounds great. I think it really grasps what that band was all about. And I also love Her Madly. I know it's more of a Robbie Krieger deal, but it feels like this whole album really feels like the transition of the 60s into the 70s. The 60s music into the 70s music. And that's where my number 2 Los Angeles record comes in. And it is Hotel California. I have to say, I really love this record. I mean, I didn't own a single Eagles album until I was about 40 years old. And it's like the greatest hits one, right? But ironically, I know all the lyrics. That's how pervasive the Eagles are. I mean, granted, I'm a huge Linda Ronstadt fan. And I think that part of me being a fan of Linda Ronstadt is the Eagles, right? Because they were her backing band for a while. Not all of them, obviously. Like Joe Walsh wasn't part of that, I know. I just think that Hotel California, like, if I'm going to have one of these drinks, I feel like that is Hotel California. That is Hotel California in a cocktail glass right here. I think a lot of people just buy the Eagles' greatest hits and they like leave it there. But I think that you're doing yourself a disservice if you have not gone out and bought Hotel California. I have 2 copies. I have an original, which is kind of beat up a little bit. And then this is a brand new copy that they've just released, I think in 2023. It's on that 180 gram vinyl. I really enjoy the 180 gram vinyl on the new turntables because it comes out sounding a lot like, I mean, it's a digital recording. It sounds cleaner. But if you can find a vintage turntable or a good quality turntable and you can put on one of the original vinyls, the sound is immaculate. It's such a great, well-produced record. And speaking of great records, my number 3 Los Angeles record is the first Van Halen. I will be I am a complete geek about Van Halen. I think that they're great. Van Halen, when I was growing up, they were, to me, the penultimate rock band. I mean, they were the first real, other than Kiss, they were the first real rock band that I was introduced to via radio. I heard Journey, I heard all that other stuff, but they were the ones that stuck with me. I mean, Kiss was one that stuck with me because I can remember being young. This was back when I lived in Pittsburgh. And I vividly remember the commercial for Kiss coming to the Pittsburgh Civic Arena. I mean, I remember the guy, you know, like, Friday, Kiss, you wanted it, you got it, Kiss at the Pittsburgh Civic Arena. I mean, it's vivid in my mind, and it was back when they were like, it was in the 70s, you know, when they were in the makeup and everything. But eventually, we moved south. Like a lot of people in the Rust Belt, you know, the steel mills shut down in Pittsburgh, and everybody kind of flocked down south. We ended up in Texas, and I remember on the radio, I had this little blue transistor radio that I would play, you know, the top 40 station. But every so often I would, you know, turn the dial to the rock station. And Van Halen was the one. I mean, I liked it all, but Van Halen was stuck with me. And I just think it's part of that Diamond David Lee Roth bombastic presentation. And I mean, obviously Eddie Van Halen is a genius on the guitar. I think that somebody who was in elementary school at the time, like I was, it just pulled you right in. I mean, Twisted Sister was around then, the Scorpions, AC/DC, all that great stuff. But Van Halen, and then when I realized that they were from Los Angeles, they just felt like LA. I mean, if there was one band that was gonna scream Los Angeles, it was them. There's another one later, but I have one that I'm gonna add. I'm trying to go kind of like chronologically in order. And my next one is this record right here. Again, not the original vinyl. This is a reissue. But the Go-Go's, man. I really wish that I had a little bit more knowledge about Los Angeles and the LA punk scene. I understand that Jane Wiedlin was there from the inception of the LA punk scene, which would have been cool. In high school, I kind of got into all of that LA punk, the Germs, all that good stuff. But to me, the Go-Go's, they kind of blended that surf rock and punk rock aesthetic together. And what's cool about the Go-Go's, I always felt, is they wrote and did all their own music. And it's good. So that's for me, Beauty and the Beat is their best record. I know it's their first record. I just feel like it still hits with that punk aesthetic. You know what I mean? They kind of devolved into pop music and later on in the 80s you got, Belinda, not to take anything away from those records, man. I remember calling in and requesting the radio station to play Heaven is a Place on Earth, man. I loved that record. I loved Rush Hour from Jane Wiedlin. I loved all of their solo stuff. Their more poppy stuff, but this one, man, it hits. To me. Now, you may not agree. I don't really care. My last one, and to me, one band that just kind of encapsulates the whole decadence of Los Angeles, but my favorite, the record I think that is more LA out of all of them, is this one. Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood. Some people say Appetite from Guns N' Roses. I cannot disagree with you there. I mean, there's a strong case for Appetite for Destruction as being a hardcore LA rock record. Strong case for Rumors, obviously, from Fleetwood Mac, but some people would argue Fleetwood Mac, kind of British. And I'd agree with you there too. But I would also say, I mean, you cannot touch Fleetwood Mac as a great Rumors, one of the greatest records ever. But when you're talking to LA rock, I feel like Dr. Feelgood just kind of, it packages up the decadence of Los Angeles in the 80s in a nice little bow and delivers it to you. I mean, there's like the girls, the cocaine, the booze, the strip, the whole bit. It's right there on that record. And if you have never read The Dirt or any of the stuff that Nikki Sixx has written, I would definitely encourage you to check it out. He's a great writer. The songs are great, obviously, but his whole presentation, the pacing of his writing is fantastic. And this is just a great record. It's just a great record. And obviously an honorable mention to anything that Lemmy did. Lemmy lived like right down the street from the whiskey in his later years. So to me, Lemmy is like, even though he's British and Motorhead's British, but Lemmy's kind of like a an honorary Los Angelinan, or whatever you'd call it. But those are my picks. So tell me what you think. I mean, I'm probably wrong because I don't live in Los Angeles. And I've only visited a handful of times. And when I have visited Los Angeles, it's been as a tourist. I mean, Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm. I'm not even going down to look at the stars, you know, the whatever that sidewalk is with all the star walk of fame or whatever you call it. I've never even done that. I've never stepped foot in the Whiskey A Go-Go. I've never stepped foot in the Rainbow or the Starlight or any of those places, or the Troubadour. So I don't know. So maybe you know about LA, and maybe you know better than me. I will say an honorable mention band that I like from LA. And I think they're from Los Angeles, but I could be wrong. Suburban Lawns. Yeah, are they from Los Angeles? There was a college radio station where I live, and they would play all of these really like obscure bands. And they played them once, and I think I recall them saying that they're from Los Angeles. I think they're part of the little punk scene in LA. But I could be mistaken. But anyway, this is what I think of when I think of LA music. And like I said, I could do a thing about James Ellroy, but I'm going to save that for a different date. Join me on my next trip down this criticism and cocktail, where I will try to talk about literature the next time. At any rate, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for chiming in and tuning in. And I know I haven't done this in a while, but work has kind of been crazy, and I kind of like let things slip. Bargain Basement Baudelaire is on TikTok, and I do have all of my drink recipes, and I talk about booze on there all the time. I know you might think I'm a drunk, but I'm not. I just enjoy cocktails, I enjoy music, and I enjoy literature, and I like to chat about it. So if you like to chat about it, keep tuning in and click that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. And I'll see you next time. Later.